So hi, everyone, and welcome to our Thursday morning practitioner call. This is always my favorite call of the week as we have practitioners on this call. And today we have a special guest, Dr. Patty. She is an MD in San Clemente, California, and we get to hear her story. And she will tell you from a doctor's perspective what's going on with these patches. So if you are new to this call, welcome. We do this call a little different than our evening calls. It's 1 hour long. And we talk, we have many more practitioners on this call, and we do it more like a round robin. Dr. Patty and I start with the technology, and then some of the practitioners unmute themselves and talk about what's going on with their clients. And even some of the clients that are on the call may also unmute themselves and just tell their personal story as well. And then the last 15 minutes, we just talk to practitioners on how Dr. Patty has set up her office in order to get her patients the technology. And so that's how the hour works. So we're so happy that you're here. And Dr. Patty, let's start with why are you using X39 stem cell activation patches for yourself and your patients? I mean, really, like, why should we do it? Why should new practitioners on this call even be listening to this technology?
Well, I think that it's great that you guys are all here. It's good to see everybody. And I feel like that the Lifewave patches are so unique, and they're truly game changers for practitioners, because they're game changers for our patients and for ourselves as we experience. And I heard about them first from a patient. I listened to her, and I then reached out to the doctor that had referred her to Lifewave. And then I decided I would try them for myself. It's been about 7 months now. And I have a lot of chronic pain at night, and I was using X39 and Icewave and had just immediate benefits from both of them. And so I became thrilled that I saw they had a great benefit potential and very minimal, if any, risk. So the things I share with you today, of course, are just my own personal experience. I don't provide treatment or anything like that for anyone on this call, but I will share my experience with myself and with my patients.
So let's talk a little bit about that, doctor. You found out about this from a patient. That tells me, wow, doctor, you have an open mind when a patient comes and tells you, hey, I found this technology. And here's what the technology is. If you are new to the call, this is X39. It is our stem cell activation patch, and it's a form of wearable light technology. That's a big word, wearable light technology. Dr. Patty will give you even a bigger word, but wearable light technology happens because when you open up this patch, inside is organic crystal. And it turns out we radiate a low-grade infrared light from our body. And when you put this patch on, it actually reflects your own light back into your body to make change. It's called photobiomodulation. Dr. Patty, what's photobiomodulation? And what's the medical world thinking about photobiomodulation and light these days?
So if you want to just think about how vitamin D works, we get UVB rays from the sun, and our body converts that light into vitamin D in our bodies, and vitamin D supports every cell's function. So we're doing something similar with the Lifewave patches. We're harnessing our body's energy, light energy, and specifically the infrared light frequency that our body pushes out into the environment all the time. And by taking a little patch, like one I've got on my, see if you can see that wrist today, and using those little crystals in the middle, what it does is it just sort of blocks that infrared light from coming out on a special energy meridian point in our bodies. And it pushes it back into our body to allow our body to use that for even more healing. So it's a very natural way to heal. No drugs or medicines are in the patch, which for me was mind-boggling at first.
Yes. And can you hear me okay, Dr. Patty?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about what the medical world is thinking about light as a way to repair. What's the thought about light in general right now?
Well, I think infrared light is being used in a lot of areas. It's been used for quite a while with physical therapists. They would have an infrared light and just use that on a sore spot in the body. And it actually helps and works. And now we're having infrared light beds that many people utilize in a sort of upscale gym. And it helps for performance and recovery after you've been working out. So I think that more and more we're becoming interested in the way that the body's photo or biophotomodulation, meaning that we take light and we're able to transform our cellular function in the body to make it happen. And for us with the patches, we realize that we're stimulating a peptide in our bodies that stimulates stem cells. And all of that is very regenerative.
You know, I love that. I get chills because I really feel like we're moving along in awareness, in all of us as humanity, as just people, as MDs, as just me. I'm not an MD. I'm just a person trying to get better, right? Like we're all moving through awareness. And I think the awareness is there's different forms of repairing. We have pharmaceuticals, we have whole food, we have supplements, and now we have light. And that we're all understanding that light is a repairing modality. It's so exciting to me, right? Because light is fast. Think about it. You go outside for 20 minutes and the sun creates vitamin D for you. This light talks to your body. It's so exciting. Just like I have to say, I'm going to give an analogy because I put this together the other day. I was walking outside and I saw this beautiful flower with little bits of water on it. And the sun was coming down on it and she was blossoming. And I said, wow, light and water create blossoming. So for us, these patches are a form of wearable light technology. Light is coming into our body with it. And we drink water and we blossom. So we make sure when you're wearing these, light and water go together. And so make sure that that goes together with you. So now that we understand from Dr. Patty that light is a valid way of repairing. And by the way, the owner inventor of the company, David Schmidt, started this company in 2005. And he started the company because the Navy SEALs called him up. They knew he was an inventor because he was working on submarines back in the day for them. I mean, that's who the man is that owns this company, right? He'll invent anything. Well, they called him up and they said, David, we need a way to keep the guys up at night without stimulants. And he said, well, let me work on that. And that was the very first patch that ever came in, the energy patch. And that actually converts fat into energy. And for you doctors, it activates mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of every cell of the body. Kind of important, right? So, but what was interesting is he developed this in 2005 before we caught up with him. So we didn't really understand light or how it worked. And we saw these patches and we were like, what? We don't get it. And so that's why the company just kind of moved along slowly until 2018. And that's when the awareness caught up to the inventor. And that's when our company went up in growth tenfold, right? So it's kind of exciting to see because that means we're just helping more people. So let's talk a little bit about what the light of X39 really does for people. Well, when you put this wearable light technology on your skin, it activates a peptide in your body. Write this down, GHK Copper Peptide. You can go research GHK Copper Peptide by going to, well, shoot, let's go show you where you can find it now, because I know all you doctors out there are researchers. So hold on, let's see if I can find it for us. Give me 1 minute. So write this down. It's important for your research. StartX39now.com. Once again, StartX39now.com. And this is where you will go to understand the technology, okay? And we're talking about GHK Copper Peptide. So the patch activates GHK Copper Peptide. Here's the link right there. If you want to know more about this peptide, you just go here and you read it. What does it do for skin and hair? Well, it smooths rough skin. It increases hair growth. It accelerates wound healing. It reduces fine lines and wrinkles. Who doesn't want that? It is the #1 molecule for treatment of metastatic colon cancer. Wow. It helps with programmed cell death of the fast-growing cells. It resets 84 genes to growth inhibition or inhibition of fast-growing cells. Lung protection. Look at this one. It is the top compound for treatment of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, restored healthy function in COPD. It protects lung cells. Antioxidant increases SOD activity. That's superoxide dismutase for you doctors. Superoxide dismutase is what is in our bodies that protect us from the free radical damage. SOD is like the thing. It protects us from free radicals and it increases that activity. Brain and nerve, look at this one. It helps with the neuron function. It includes anti-anxiety and anti-aggression. It helps with anti-pain activity. It helps with the stomach lining. Tissue, bone, linings, all the internal organs. It helps with, I don't even know what that means. Yeah, Dr. Patty, you're going to have to tell us what that means. It strongly helps with these cells. What's that mean? You have to unmute yourself.
Capillary cells are just our little tiny blood vessels. And often we have many capillaries that go to real small parts of our body, like our fingers, our toes. And so to make those work better, we get better blood flow, less pain, and more cellular energy.
Can I ask you, it says strongly chemo attracted. So are you telling me like when you activate GHK Copper Peptide, it will go after, if chemo's going after cancer cells, like it will help the chemo fight? Is that what that means? What does that mean?
I don't think so. I think what that means is that we have a lot of cells in our body that are specifically attracted to certain areas. And so chemo attracted means more like chemically moved that direction. So like, for example, mast cells and macrophages you see right under capillary cells.
Yeah.
Those are part of our white blood cells that help to fight infection, and they know to go right to the area that needs to be improved. And so if we can have better blood flow with our little capillaries, that helps for healing. So it's sort of a process of healing there for the body with the white blood cells and cells specifically that are going to activate our capillaries to work better with more blood flow.
So basically GHK helps the capillaries work better to get whatever the white blood cells, the red blood cells, whatever the cells needed to do the fighting to the place faster.
Yes, so in medicine, we see that as sort of, okay, so mechanistically, mechanically, how does GHK copper heal wounds? Well, it helps to increase our body's response to that wound by sending the white blood cells and the capillary cells to that area for healing.
This is why you're on this call, because you are so smart. Like just ask the doctor when you don't understand the big words. That's all I'm saying. Okay, strong. Okay, so what does this mean?
So the ubiquitin system, some of you may be familiar with coenzyme Q10 and that's ubiquitol. So that is part of our body's, again, healing mechanism. CoQ10 specifically relates to the heart, and it helps the heart muscle to work better. So what they're saying with many of with the patch, with like X39, is that it's actually changing our gene expression in our body of maybe as many as I've heard David Schmidt say, over 4,000 genes. So they activate a different way. And proteasome system is the system that helps the body to get rid of the debris of the cell. We're always breaking things down in our body. We need to get rid of them so that we can have new cells and new parts of our cells. And so it helps that system to work better in our body. And we know that glutathione also helps that system as well. So it's pretty interesting.
Wow. I've never actually, I'm just going to be honest, I've never deeply looked at the additional actions of GHK before, but as I'm looking at it, I'm blown away. So basically GHK helps the cells fight whatever it needs to fight better. And then it comes and it helps the cells clean everything out that's yucky and get it out. That's, I mean, in layman's.
Right. And that macrophage, up the one up right above it, a macrophage is like a little Pac-Man. It just goes and it just grabs all this kind of stuff and pulling it out. And so then we've got to be able to get rid of the macrophages, right? So our cells are always breaking down and building up.
Wow. Thank you. I'm learning a lot today. It blocks cortisone. And that's inflammatory. That cortisone's never great in your body, correct?
Well, yes, we want some cortisone because that's what helps us get up and go, particularly in the morning, but we don't want too much, because too much over a long period of time can break all of our cells down and we don't feel as well. We develop chronic disease. So we want to make sure the more cortisone we have going in the body beyond what we need, the more that ages us. And so we want to have that right balance, not too little, but not too much.
Okay, explain the next one. Suppress the insulin and insulin-like symptoms that reduces lifespan in roundworms. What does that mean?
So I haven't read that study, so I'm not particularly familiar with exactly what it did. But we do know in our body that insulin is important. Okay, but what happens with people that develop diabetes is they become insensitive to the insulin that our pancreas secretes. So normally, the normal process is the pancreas secretes insulin after we eat a meal, and that helps to put the sugar from the blood into the cells where it belongs. For people that aren't sensitive to insulin, then your pancreas just keeps pumping out insulin, but the insulin's staying in the blood, and it damages our blood vessels. When you have high sugar in your blood, you don't want it there. So
is the insulin supposed to, when the insulin's produced, it's supposed to click onto the sugar and bring it into the cell, so the sugar goes in the cell and the insulin? Is that right?
Insulin helps escort, sort of be like an escort, sugar into the cell, and it's sort of compounded too. We have to have the right kind of fat to do that as well, and bad fat blocks us being able to bring sugar in. So there's a lot of different factors, but insulin is one of the main ones. And that's why, ultimately you may know someone that finally had to go on insulin, meaning they're having to inject insulin into their body because they're just not sensitive enough to it. The pancreas is worn out. It can't produce enough. And so we have to bring more insulin in. And that's when diabetes has gotten really bad. So ideally, we don't want to get to that point. We do want to have insulin in the body, but we want it to be working optimally. And it's a little cryptic how they say it there, but that's what I think they mean.
So it would help the cells reuptake the insulin better, I think is what that probably means.
Perhaps, yes.
Perhaps. Anyway, perhaps. Wow, did we just get a lesson on all of that, right? So, and then reduce fibrinogen. What does that mean?
So what fibrinogen is it helps our blood to clot. Now we need that, some of that, right? But we don't want too much. And so if you have a lot of fibrinogen in your body, when that's measured and it's too high, then that isn't good for your system, and that can cause heart attack, stroke. We know that having blood clots is not a good thing. And so we want fibrinogen, but we don't want too much of it because it's inflammatory.
Wow. Well, we've never gone this deep into GHK, but we're doing it today because I don't know, somebody here wanted to know about it, and I don't know who, but you just learned. So GHK also activates your stem cells. So it does all this stuff we just talked about, and it activates your stem cells. So what does that mean, to activate your stem cells? Well, by the time you're 30, 50% of your stem cells go dormant. But the time you're 60, almost all of your stem cells are dormant. They're not dead, they're dormant. And why do we need stem cells? Well, let's go back to when you were 20. Your stem cells worked great. They were marching and repairing and marching and repairing, and you were 20 and you felt good and you didn't know why and you didn't really care, right? Because you had no gray hair, you had no wrinkles, and you had no chronic health issues. You were 20. How lovely. But now we're not. Well, some of you maybe. And if you are, start the patch so you never do become chronic like me. So anyway, so why is it important to reactivate the stem cells? Because, you ready for this? Write this down. Stem cells are the only cells in your body that are changeable. They can change into whatever cell your body needs for repair, just like when you were 20. Let me say that one more time. Why are stem cells important? Stem cells are the only cells in your body that are changeable. They can change into whatever cells your body need for repair, like when you were 20. Why do you think doctors are taking stem cells out of people's bone marrow, recirculating it and re-injecting it into a knee? Because they're trying to get more stem cells to turn into the cells that are fixing the knee. Why can that be tricky? I'll call it $10,000, or call it you got to go to Mexico now because more and more stem cell treatments are getting stopped in the US. And also call it that you're just re-injecting your old stem cells that aren't reactivated. That's tricky. So what if I told you you could activate your own stem cells for less than a cup of coffee a day with a little wearable light technology and just get them working again without a $10,000 injection of your old cells, old stem cells? This is actually activating them to be young again. What a concept, right? What a concept. So that's what the X39 stem cell activation patch does. It activates GHK Copper Peptide in the blood, which you just saw does all this cool stuff. And one of the cool things that GHK Copper Peptide does is it reactivates those dormant stem cells to start working again like you were 20. David Schmitz says, when you put young stem cells on old tissue, you turn the tissue young again. We're not anti-aging, we're age reversing. And then he did a study. He looked at a study of 15 people. It was a small study. He looked at their blood markers of age for 6 months, or for markers of age first. Then he put them on X39 for 6 months. And then he re-looked at the blood. 14 out of 15 people reversed their age by 8 years after 6 months of X39. And I will tell you this, a lot of us that have been on this protocol, I guess me now for 3 years, we look younger today than we did 3 years ago. And I ask you all, even if you've been on it for a while, and some of you that just started, take a picture of yourself today. Everyone take your camera, just take a picture of yourself. And in 3 months, well, no, Peter says, take a picture now, take a picture of yourself in 30 days, and take a picture of yourself in 3 months. You will see a difference. And then take a picture of yourself in a year. Many of us look younger today than we did 10 years ago. Like if you go look at your picture, some of you that have been on this patch for 1, 2, 3 years, go look at yourself 10 years ago, look at yourself today. Hey, take a picture of that. Take a picture of yourself from 10 years ago and take a picture of yourself today. Post that. I bet you look better today. I'm not kidding. You look better today. So that's the X39 stem cell activation patch. And Dr. Patty, tell us your thoughts about GHK Copper Peptide. I know that you, as a regenerative doctor, were giving patients, they were giving themselves shots every day of GHK. I mean, Dr. Patty knew about GHK before we did. Explain how you were using GHK and stem cells in your practice before and how you're using them now. So doctors kind of see the difference in how you have evolved.
Yeah, so GHK Copper is available from compounding pharmacies. It's a prescription, and it is an injectable peptide. What that means is peptide is a short chain of amino acids that our body naturally makes. GHK is 3 amino acids, and the copper is sort of like the chaperone molecule that helps bring it in to the body into its activity. And so we were using that. I was recommending that for patients. They would use it for a month with little tiny insulin-sized syringes, not insulin, but putting the GHK copper into that little syringe and injecting it right under the skin, usually right at their belly. And they do that for a month because peptides have to be cycled, just like our peptide patches are cycled 12 hours on, 12 hours off. And this was very effective. I used it myself. I used it for patients. I did several rounds of it, meaning a 30-day is a round. And it definitely helped me sleep better and helped my pain to be less. But it's expensive. I got tired of injecting myself, and many patients don't want to inject themselves every day. And so we were using it, but there were a lot of problems with it because of that. And we were actually giving ourselves GHK copper, which is in theory pretty safe, should be safe. It's what your body makes, but you're always injecting something, into your body, which isn't nearly the same as what we're doing with the patches. We're activating that system in our body. So it makes it virtually safe and effective. When I found out about this different way to do it, the cost is about a third, 25% to 35% of what the cost is of injectables. They'll cost you well over $300 a month. We can get the X39 for $100 a month. And so it was just phenomenal. And I thought, well, every one of my patients can use this instead of just the patients that are willing to inject themselves.
Wow. And tell us a little bit about your experience with stem cells in your clinic and where you were with that versus where you are now and why.
Yeah, so I became really interested in stem cells when I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and I was looking for things that could be outside of the box because I didn't want to take the big farm drugs. My body's sensitive, and I knew that just wasn't going to be the right thing for me. And I didn't learn anything about stem cells, obviously, in medical school. In fact, I was very suspicious of that, but I began to study and learn more and actually started using stem cells for myself and for my patients because I became so convinced they were a super way to heal and to help me in particular with my autoimmune disease. But they're expensive. They're injections or IVs, or there's an intranasal approach. And so about a year, it's been closer to 2 years now ago, the FDA removed that ability for us in our regenerative functional medicine clinics to use stem cells. That's not allowable in the United States anymore. And so again, when I heard about something that activated GHK copper without injections at such a cost effective way, and when I learned about something that would stimulate my own stem cells, it was just like a no-brainer to at least give it a try, right? And then when I saw all the studies, I listened to David Schmidt every webinar I could find and read his studies. He's got nearly 80 studies right now and more always evolving. I became convinced that it was so good that I wanted to be able to offer it to my patients as well.
Wow. Just amazing.
Yeah, it is.
It really is. I'm sometimes at awe, especially when it really explains the difference, like that she was using both GHK and stem cells. Stem cells, FDA doesn't allow in clinic anymore. You can still do GHK peptides, but the cost, $300 a month of GHK, the cost to go get a stem cell injection, you have to go to Mexico now, $5,000 to $10,000 a shot, or X39 activates your own GHK, activates your own stem cells using wearable light, which goes into your body. And, light activates your body just the way it's supposed to be, not too much, not too little. Light is, light is light. Like we all know, we have light coming off of our skin. We have infrared light. The sun comes down, light and water is what it's about. And we're just figuring out how to harness it. And it's really exciting to see what's happening. And so for $100 a month, a 30-day supply, you basically just put this on and do what Dr. Patty was doing in her office for years without it. I mean, it's so simple. And sometimes the best healing can be so simple, right? Did you just hear Dr. Patty with, symptoms of, insulin issues? It's getting the sugar down and it's good fats. So it's, eating right. Get rid of the sugars, eat avocados. It's not that hard, right? Same thing, simple. Activate your stem cells, drink water, and get that GHK activated with X39. 12 hours on to activate and repair, and 12 hours off. 12 hours on to activate and repair, and 12 hours off. Why the 12 hours on and 12 hours off? Well, because this is a signal, it's light-based. And so if you wear this 24 hours over and over and over again, your body gets used to the signal and it doesn't work so well. So the only rule of this patch is 12 hours on, 12 hours off. David recommends putting this patch right below the back of your neck or underneath your belly button. So you could put it on at 7 a.m. And when do you take it off? 7 p.m. When do you put your next one on? 7 a.m. And when do you take it off? 7 p.m. But here's the deal. Your whole body's light, so any spot will do. I like to say, love your spot. So if your shoulder's hurting, where could you put this? On your shoulder. If your knee hurts, where could you put this? On your knee. I broke my wrist about 4 months ago. So where was I putting it? By the way, look at my wrist is doing really good now. Where do you put it? On your wrist, because it hurts. And so that's pretty easy. So 12 hours on, 12 hours off. That is the X39 stem cell activation patch. Before we move on to a few other patches, because in this call, we know practitioners have a toolbox. And so we want to tell you about more of the tools in the box. But does anyone want to unmute themselves and give a testimonial about what's happened to them using the X39? And that can be a practitioner, that can be a patient, that can be a client. And I'll give just a moment if anybody wants to unmute themselves and give one testimonial, they sure can. Is that Destiny? You want to give a testimonial? Unmute yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, Destiny.
I had an occlusion in my eye, and I lost my eyesight in my right eye. So for 3 years, the doctors have been putting a needle in my eye and medicine. I started X39, X49, and every other patch 3.5 months ago. My eyesight's gotten better, and now I'm not taking any shots, just my patches.
Wow. That's a real quality of life change of game, Destiny.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Wow. And how long did that take? 3 months you've been on the technology?
Yes, 3 months.
Wow.
Every day I wear my patches every day.
Wow.
Yes.
Destiny, thank you for sharing
You're
your
welcome.
testimonial. Do we have one more testimonial? You can unmute yourself. Anyone can talk. It's lovely to hear what's happening to you all. Don't be afraid. Somebody unmute themselves and talk. Otherwise, we'll move on if we don't have one more testimony.
Good morning.
Well, hello, Julie. Good morning.
Good morning, Marci. I just want to give my testimonial. The first thing that I did with the patches was that I had head tremors, and I was ready to go to have my MRI done with eye to see what was wrong with my brain, and I used Eon for 3 days with the brain balancing, and in 3 days, the 4th day, I woke up without the tremors. So I canceled my MRI appointment, and I have not had the tremors since then. That was in January.
And what patches were you wearing, Julie?
The only patch I was wearing that particular time when I just started, because I didn't know much about the patches, was the Eon.
Eon. Wow. Thank you, Julie. We're going to talk about Eon in a minute. Okay, no MRI, tremors gone. I mean, I don't know. I'm just calling on people. I don't know everybody's testimonial. They just speak. Real people having real life experience. I've never seen anything like it. Can we have one other person just unmute themselves? Oh, Amy wants to talk. Okay, can you talk, Amy? Aimee, is that you, sweetie? Did you want to talk? Your hand is up.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not showing my face because I have no makeup on right now, and I just
that's okay.
But so I was diagnosed with CRPS, chronic regional pain syndrome. It's a very rare disease. I've done multiple stem cell injections over the years, and that actually jacked my right knee up. And just, I've only been using the patches for 2.5 months. I've spent over 20+ grand on holistic treatments, trying to get myself into remission. And I'm going into remission, thank God, due to the stem cell patches already. Like, my mobility is better. I was in a wheelchair last year, pretty much full time, barely could stand to cook, to clean, to do anything. And yeah, I can't talk because it's changed my life, and it's only been 2.5 months.
So, and do you pronounce your name Amy? Is that right? Or
yeah,
Amy. So Amy, what? So you what is the chronic issue again in the autoimmune? What happens?
It's called chronic regional pain syndrome. If you look it up, like in the McGill pain scale, it's above childbirth, it's above cancer, it's above amputation. It is not a fun thing to have. And it can spread full body if you don't stop from where it's starting. And so it started in my foot, and then it spread to my right side last year as well. And it's not a fun thing to have. You're basically burning from the inside out. And so I used X39 and I used Eon, which helped decrease the inflammation and helped calm those nerves. So if you know anyone that does have CRPS, we go through absolutely everything trying to figure out something that will work, that you just got to, like, a lot of them are kind of stuck in that Western medicine world. But if anyone is, open to holistic treatments, this is an absolute godsend. I haven't tried the Nirvana yet, but I'm so excited. I just ordered it. Wow. And I'm so excited to try that. But my pain has just decreased so much. Like, I used to be on fire every single night. And now I don't even have to, I'm not getting up to put on my cream, and I'm not having to put my cream on every 4 hours to help somewhat try to numb the pain. And my mobility has increased. So it's just, it's amazing stuff. And I can't wait to see what else it's gonna do, because I've got a whole slew of things I'm working on right now.
Wow. So basically it's calmed down the nerves, so you're not on fire.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Amy, I don't know if it's okay, but Rand, can you put your phone number in chat and have Amy call you and give her your number? Amy, I'd love to have you on a Thursday night testimonial call if you so desire. Your story needs to help many people. And that's the same with you too, Destiny. If you could call Jan, I'd love that story. And who was my other girl? Oh, and Julie. maybe you guys could all give Jan a call if you don't mind, because these are stories that need to be heard in the evening. So thank you so much. Do we have one more testimonial? This is powerful. You know, Dr. Patty and I can talk all day long about the technology, but it's the true life. It's the true giving quality of life back is why we are doing this. And it's Amiee and Destiny and Julie's stories showing that quality of life is coming back. That is why we're doing this. Anyone else? One more. Somebody have one more that they'd like to share, that they'd like to unmute? And if you do, quickly unmute yourself. Don't be afraid. It's just
Hi, Marci.
Well, hi, who's this?
It's Victoria. I don't have my makeup
Victoria.
on either, so I don't want to show my lovely face.
That's okay.
But anyway, I hope you can hear me. We had a water leak and we got a bunch of fans behind us. They're doing construction.
Yeah.
So besides me hearing that, but remember when I gave you my testimonial a few months back? Well, you know, I had scarring from a domestic violence issue, and you know, it had faded. And okay, when I gave my testimonial a few months back, that scar was very light. Now it's completely gone. And I have, you know, I used to have some brown spots because I was always in the sun when I lived in California.
Yes.
And they are almost all gone. And, you know, it's weird because, you know, a lot of people, you know, are dreading their birthdays. And, you know, when I hit 60, I thought, oh my God, how did I get this old? But now, you know, I'm telling everybody, I'm going to be 63 next month. Can you believe it? You know, because I look in my mirror and my skin on my face isn't crinkly like the old people that are my age. You know, and I hope I'm not being disrespectful, but, you know, I look at people that are my age and they've let themselves get so old. And, you know, I had chronic pain and I've gotten rid of almost all of my medicines because one of them you have to titrate down, and I'm down to a half a pill once a day. And I pretty much fired my doctor because he is not being open to the patches and more holistic, natural things to help me. You know, he was just throwing pills at me. You know, Western doctors, how they get in that habit. And it's like, you know, you're just waiting for me to die. You know, all you're doing is giving me medicine. I want a solution. And the Eon and the X39 have given me that solution. And of course, all of the other patches that I use, you know, it just makes me feel so good that these are available and they're not going to have side effects to make me sick. You know, I mean, something's supposed to make you well, you know, then there's 20 side effects. These don't have that, you know. Victoria, and I'm so grateful for David for making these.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Marci, I'm sorry I called you Marci. Yeah.
That's okay, Victoria. Thank you for sharing.
Brain fart.
No problem. And, you know, Victoria, honestly, you know, the wound healing of X39, you know, domestic violence is a serious situation and it causes a lot of, I'm sure, emotional PTSD and trauma. And to see the scar from domestic violence every single day just must be a trigger. And that the X39, through its anti-scarring and wound healing, took the scar away so she doesn't see that wound, allows her to step forward in her life without the trauma of the past. And Victoria, I'm so happy for you, you know, and I think if you're new to this call or a new practitioner, the common thread of the testimonials are, I don't know what's going on with Victoria or with Amiee or with Julie or with Destiny, but their bodies do know. And when you activate the stem cells, that army has your back and it starts going through your body and turning into the cells that it needs to be to repair your first trauma first. And then it moves and repairs the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth. And you can tell that every trauma was different today. And they're all having a beautiful result, and it's all different. And that is what's been the most amazing piece of working in this company for 3 years. If you go to startx39biz.com, you should write that down, to tab number 5, join Telegram, and join all our Telegram groups. If you go to Be Activating Testimonials, you will see over 3,000 testimonials over the last 3 years of real people having real experience. And if you have something going on with you, or if one of your clients has something going on with you, you can just search it in the testimonial and hear what's happening to real people. Those testimonials are just 30 minutes. It's 15 minutes, just like this, where you have some people telling their real life story, and then 15 minutes of how the technology works. That's all focused on X39, as that is the workhorse of the line. But we are going to talk about just a few other patches today, because it has been talked about today, and particularly Eon. And everyone has talked about Eon. In fact, David says that these are the beginning of the 2 patches that you wear. X39, the workhorse of the line. Eon activates a peptide in your liver that reduces inflammation. You see now why they go together, right? So as X39 is activating your stem cells, David says inflammation can be an eater of stem cells. So if you wear these together, are you ready for this? The inflammation, the Eon eats the inflammation that's trying to eat the stem cell. You get it? And so that turbocharges the X39 to work better. That's why everybody likes to wear these together. And once again, any spot will do. A lot of people wear both of them together right below the back of the neck. But if you got a sore knee, pop them both on your knee. If you got a sore shoulder, pop them both on your shoulder. It's okay. And there's an interesting story about Eon that I'll share. David got invited to meet Suzanne Summers. A lot of you guys probably remember, because we're all older. A lot of us are older here. The Three's Company show in the 70s. Well, she loves these patches. And so she invited David Schmidt to her house. And David was so excited to meet a scientist who was also going to be there. So they started talking, and the scientist said, well, David, do you know why the queen bee lives 50% longer than the worker bee? And he goes, no, why? And the scientist said, well, because the queen bee gets to eat the queen bee jelly, and the worker bees don't get to. It's the royal jelly. And there's a peptide in that jelly that is the reason for her longevity. And David goes, really? And he goes, yeah. And there's more to it, David. He goes, what? That's in humans' livers, that same peptide. So David with Eon learned how to activate the peptide in the liver, which is the royal jelly peptide. So not only are you reducing inflammation, what are you doing? Increasing longevity. And if you were to ask David what his purpose is, he would say that his purpose is to live as long as he can and to help others do the same, to regenerate that old tissue into youthful tissue, and to get back to the times of Old Testament when they were living 1,000 years. He doesn't understand why we can't, and he's trying to figure that out. And the way he figures it out is he studies other creatures on this planet that live long, like the queen bee, like the lobster. Did you know lobsters and clams live over 400 years? That's one of David's favorite creatures to study. He wants to know why, so he can learn it and apply it to us. He's pretty amazing, man, and we are blessed to have him at the forefront of this company helping all. So that's Eon. Dr. Patty, any comment on what you use Eon for and why you like it?
I use Eon, and I recommend it for all my patients to be coupled with X39 because of what Marci just said. And it makes sense. I think this is a good time to bring this up. About 50% of all people can feel a benefit with X39 almost immediately. I did the first day. So did my husband. I had a greater sense of well-being. I slept so much better that first night. It was truly incredible. But another 50% don't. And we think, based on some things that David said and studies and what other practitioners have said, that likely what we know about stem cells is that they hone in like little honing birds into the area of greatest inflammation. And so if you have, let's say you've got a fatty liver and you don't even realize it, and that's where it goes first because that's really an important place to go, but maybe the pain in your wrist is still bothering you and you think the X39 is not helping you, when in fact it is. It's just a hidden help that you're not aware of. So it makes sense that you give it time. For every decade of your life, you want to give it at least a month for repair. So if you're 50 years old, you want to be sure you use it 5 months. That's the reparative stage. Then you begin to have more regeneration after that point. So it's important to be consistent with it as well. But Eon and X39 to me are just great partners. Some practitioners do it a different way, but for me, because I've got so much inflammation in my body, I found it to be really helpful. And so I tend to be biased in that direction for my patients.
So let me ask you why we're there about IceWave. We haven't really talked about IceWave. What does IceWave do?
So IceWave was the patch that I used in addition to Eon right away. And so IceWave is not per se a regenerative patch, although I still sometimes sort of wonder about that because it's been so wonderful for me. But basically, it is a symptomatic patch, meaning that while we're waiting for X39 and Eon to begin to really heal the inflammation in our body, if we have pain, and we're not just suppressing the pain and missing a diagnosis, but if we know sort of why we have the pain, like I do, I have more pain at night with MS. And so using the IceWave patches makes great sense to help us with pain in the interim while we're waiting for our body to heal as much as possible. And so I love IceWave. I use it every night. And I use the whole body approach, which is 2 on the bottom of my feet and 2 up on my shoulders or my elbows. And you can see Marci showing you those. There's a brown patch. The white always goes on the right side, white right, and brown on left. So you're going to use 2 patches if you have one specific pain spot, or you may use up to 4 patches if you have whole body pain.
So let's talk about that real quick. Dr. Patty uses the IceWave to block pain. And David says pain's in the connective tissue. And this works like a charge, negative charge, positive charge, and it breaks the connection of pain in the connective tissue. So wherever you hurt, if you hurt on the shoulder, where do you hurt most? Put the brown patch where it hurts most. And then you block it. So, and then it kind of ends, let's say here, put the white patch where it ends, and that's blocking the spot of pain or bookending it. Now, Dr. Patty with symptoms of MS has full body pain. So what does she do? She bookends the full body pain. She puts them on the bottom of her feet, brown patch on the bottom of the left, white patch on the bottom of the right. And then she blocks her shoulders, brown patch on the left shoulder, white patch on the white patch on the right shoulder. Right. And she's bookending the full body pain. And here's the great thing on IceWave, you can wear as many as you want. Dr. Patty sometimes, because she does have a lot of pain at night, wears sometimes as much as 3 sets of these. It's okay, right? You can wear more than one. The only rule is 12 hours on, 12 hours off. Every patch has its own clock. Okay, so if you wear some during the day, you can wear others at night. Okay, so if you want to wear X39, Eon, and say Nirvana during the day, because that's the joyful patch, we haven't talked about that. We'll talk about that next week. And IceWave at night, that's fine. You can do that, right? Dr. Patty, any comment on that?
No, I think that's exactly right. And you may be a little confused now about exactly how to use IceWave, because now we're showing you it's different in that it has 2 patches. You can go directly to the website and you go to the patch itself, and you may not know, but just scroll all the way down and you'll see a little tab that says usage. And there are videos on there to show about how to use the IceWave patches effectively. And there's also a lot of written information too. So not just what comes in that little booklet with your IceWave patches, but also there's a lot more information on the website too that can be helpful and show you the patch placements. You try them out a bit, and there's quite a bit of variety and individuality, and see what works best for you. When I did it first for me, I started out with the first steps with the 4, and I had about a 50% pain reduction. And ultimately, I found when I really bookended it well, either at my elbows or my shoulders, those seem to be my best spots, I reduced my pain down to about 80, maybe even up to 90% some nights. So it's very incredible.
And I think the key is that our whole body's light and any spot will do. And you have permission to move the patches around and see ask your body how you're doing. Like, be in control of communication with your own body, as that works very well. So the last patch I want to talk about is Glutathione, because I think it's such a powerful patch for detoxifying, and it must always be talked about. Patty, give us just 3 minutes about what Glutathione is and why it's powerful and why we should be using it.
Glutathione is our super antioxidant, meaning that it helps us to detox well, to pull things out of our body that we don't need, and it helps our immune system to be strong. So good times to use the Glutathione patch, or if you're traveling, if you've been exposed maybe to a virus or something, or you feel you're coming down with something, you want to detox. Most all of us need regular detox because we live in toxic environments. And so I love Glutathione. There's no glutathione in it. I couldn't take glutathione by taking it with pills or liquids because it would make me too weak. This, I've just built up to it a little bit at a time. And now I use it about 3 times a week for 12 hours on and 12 hours off. So it's been a great game changer for me as well.
So Glutathione is your master detoxification pathway and your master antioxidant pathway. It's no joke. And many of you practitioners have been IV and Glutathione for a long time. What Dr. Patty talks about with an IV of Glutathione is that sometimes glutathione is so strong and a whole lot at one time can be an overload, right? And then it has like a 7-minute half-life, so it doesn't last long. Glutathione here increases your glutathione by 300% in 12 hours, and it does it gently. Well, more gently than the IV. It's still not the most gentle patch. Let's be honest. This one takes no prisoners. Glutathione's gonna pull it out. This is the patch that you will have the most detox with. So don't freak out. Just know that's a good thing to have it come out. And drink a lot of water while you're taking all these patches, but particularly with glutathione. And you can titrate up. Dr. Patty was talking about titrating up. Do you see how I took half the sticky off? That allows you to wear half of the patch for less time, maybe 3 hours a day on glutathione. Never cut the crystal. You ruin it if you cut the crystal, but take it off. And then look what I did. I just wore half of a patch for 3 hours. The next day you can wear the other half of the patch for 3 hours. And that way you can titrate up until you get to 12 hours. And if you get a little headache, if you get bacteria coming flying out of your back like I did, don't freak out. It has to come out. Toxins have to come out. Either you poop them out, pee them out, you have a headache to get them out, or they come out of your skin. They do have to come out. So David said, someone asked David if kids needed any of these patches. And he said 20 years ago, not so much. He says now, yes, our world has gotten so toxic. And he recommends X39 and glutathione even for younger people. So those would be the two if you have questions about that. With that, I just quickly want to show you the site. So startx39now.com is the site you use to educate your clients about our product line. So let's take you to startx39now.com. We did talk about that a little bit earlier, But this is where you would tell your clients to go to this site and learn about the light, how light works, how stem cells work. There's the GHK we talked about. You could print those out and have them in your office to hand out. The patents and studies, you could print out the patent of X39 that says X39 activates your stem cells through GHK activation in the blood. You could print those out for your patients. You could also have them look for at the 18-minute video, which is more David, the owner of the company, talking about how X39 works and all the issues it helps you with. If you haven't watched this yourself, please do. This was the video that made me realize that this was something I was going to be wearing forever. This one right here. This one is amazing. And then this shows you patch placement. You can even print out the health tracker, have 10 of those so your patients can track how they're doing before and after. It's right there. You can talk to your patients about what to expect just from the site here. The testimonials, you can tell your patients to join a patching podcast, those 30-minute testimonials anytime. And that's from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 5 days a week. They just join right from this site. For practitioners, to talk to other practitioners, they like to hear how David explains the research. It's right here. This site has it all. And then it doesn't just stop at X39, but here's all the patches. And you could print out like 10 copies of this and have it in your office like Dr. Patty does. So she explains X39 and then she fills kits based on our one page of all patches. So do you see how everything you need for your office is almost all on the Now site? And you can use that. But there's one other site that I like very much, which is the biz site, and that's startx39biz.com. Please write that down. The biz site is all your tools for the business. And please go down to the 14 steps to success. That is the engine of our business. If you look at all of the steps 1 through 14, you will know exactly how to build this business and the tools that will help you build. But I just wanted to take you to take the order. And this is what Patty really liked. She printed out 10 of these order forms, and it tells you how you can ship to your patients, $149 retail, $119 to be a preferred customer, or the different wholesale kits, which we like. We like the silver and the gold kits with one sleeve X39 auto ship. And then we use that one page all product to fill the kits, because one X39, one X49 equals 2 supportive patches. So let me explain that. So if a silver kit has 3 sleeves, right? And you could then basically give, let's just say how we would fill that. See if you could understand this. You could fill that kit, for example, with one X39, one glutathione and one Eon, and 2 Icewave. Did I do that right? I did. Yeah, 5 sleeves for $2.99. That's a great deal. 5 sleeves for $2.99. And then you put them on one X39 the following month to keep their stem cells activating, because that is the workhorse of the line. Okay, so so that's $2.99. Isn't that amazing? And that comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So there is no risk to your clients, right? They have 20 days to try it. Do you know I've only had 1 return, and I have 40,000 people that I've helped in 3 years with 1 return? Let's face it, the patches work. So let's say that one more time. So if an X39 silver kit gives you 3 X39, but you would like to help your patients like Patty does with some different tools, she has 10 of the one-page all products printed out. She has 10 of the order forms printed out, and she fills the kit for them. So once again, it's 1 X39, right? And then you get 3 X39, but the supporting patches are worth 2. So these would be supporting. So that would be, you would get a glutathione on an Eon, and you could do 2 Icewaves. And that would be a really great kit for a pain and repair protocol. So I think that's really a great way of looking at it. And then you fill out the information, and then you say to yourself, well, now what do I do? Oh, and by the way, you can also go down here and print out the one-page all products right here as well. So that's here too. Okay, this is Patty's favorite. And then you could go back to the biz site and you could go, oh, now I need to know how to input it right there. There's your video on how to input it. There's your video on how to set up the auto ship. But if you have questions, who are you going to call? Jan Rand, and she'll help you. Jan, if you could put your name and email in chat, she can help you. You can also call customer service if you don't know what you're doing. And that's tab number 14. And you just go to company customer service and there's the number. So don't be afraid to use the Now site and the Biz site, because we've created it with everything you need to get these products out to the people that you're servicing. I know Dr. Patty started servicing so many, she hired an administration person in her office that I'm sure does probably many things, but one of her responsibilities is taking all the orders and inputting them and doing that for Dr. Patty. So if you are a practitioner and you are like Dr. Patty, that is a great way of moving everyone getting the product. And lastly, I would say that, what was I going to say on that? So that is a great way. Oh, I know. The last piece that I wanted to show you for practitioners, which I think is important, is if you go to startx39biz.com and you go to the tools to promote your business, this is really great. Please go look at the tools that we have with Sally. You click on that. Sally is our printer and our designer. You just call her. She will make your business cards in all of 3 days. Like, she's amazing. She just made Dr. Lisa's card for her. This is Dr. Lisa, MD, pain management doctor. That has Lisa's order site that explains the stem cell technology and takes all the patients to the Now site. And so what Dr. Lisa does is she fills out the order just like Patty does with the one page in the order form. And then she has one pop in here. She uses, for example, X39, Eon, and Icewave. We call that the pain and repair protocol pop. And so she'll sign up someone on a kit. And then before they leave the office, she goes, let me explain how to put on the technology. And she will pop the first spot so they have the product education. Done. It works out really great. And then you can also see all the things to order. Here's banners. There's our gifting envelopes. I like to call those gifting envelopes or samples, but also with education script. So you're sampling brochure, so to speak. And then this is some new materials that just came in. All these cards are great for offices on all the product. These are all great that talk about the benefit of all the products and patch placement. These are great for offices. We just got our new Dream and Shine up and running. This is our brand new product from all of a month ago. And so please know that these are tools that you can use to set up your office. So I hope that is helpful to understand. And once again, if you then have questions about, once you put the orders in, how you make money, how the money comes to you from the company, you can come to one of our Saturday trainings, which is on the front of the Biz site, and we explain that. You can also go to tab 5 under our Be Activating Business Training and look at any video on any subject that you may need. But when all else fails and you feel completely lost, who are you going to call? Jan Rand, and she's gonna help you because she helps all of us. So with that, I want to thank you all for coming, and we will see you next Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific for our next practitioner call. And we just love you all so much, and have a great rest of your day. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. DiBlasio. Thank you so much.